Today we are going to talk about tomato production. Tomato, in an actual sense, is a vegetable which is rich in vitamin. And vitamin, for all we know, is a greater or an essential food nutrient needed in our diet. Therefore, tomato is a source of vitamin which promote growth and development. Now, to go into tomato production, there are certain things that you need to take into consideration. Sometimes one may not necessarily be a farmer, but at least tomato is one of the crops that you can produce in your own environment. For instance, if you are in the house or you are at home, you can produce your own tomato just at your backyard using simple methods or principles. Now, one of the greatest methods that you can use, because actually in the house or back of the house, it is necessary that you employ a principle or a cultural practice that will help boost the yield of tomato. To boost the yield of tomato, you have to take into consideration what pruning is. Pruning, simply trying to train the plants of tomato, which will also increase the yield per plant. When we finish this class, we are moving again to the field for practical purpose for us to see what is actually going on tomato fields and things that we need to do if we plant tomatoes at our backyard. So today we are going to look at pruning. Now, tomato in an actual sense is a type of crop that the spacing is at least between, let's say, 60 centimeters. So let's say this is tomato plant. You plant 1 year tomato, then you plant another tomato here, then you plant another tomato, all 60 by 60. 60 by 60 centimeters. Then you are good to go. Tomato plant. So 60 by 60. From here to 60 centimeters, here 60 centimeters. And you are good to go. But to our field, we are going to use 1 meter by 1 meter. 1 meter here. Another 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. We want to know whether spacing also has detrimental impact on the yield of tomato. So we used 1 meter by 1 meter just to observe something, and then using pruning tool as one of the principal cultural practice that will help increase our yield. So because of that, possibly when we move to the field, if you want to do pruning, normally when the crop is being grown, let's say the tomato plant, we have it here. This is the roots. Definitely at a point in time it will start forming canopy. There will be another plant also there in that order. When it starts forming canopy, it will grow a certain level. When that happens, you will see that there will be lower leaves. Lower leaves. You see that when the tomato is about to flower, there will be lower leaves. These lower leaves, which may be old and diseased, are not necessary again or are not needed on the plant because they compete with the other branches for space. Pause. Yeah, so to proceed, you see that at a point in time, the lower leaves may be diseased, and the best thing that you have to do is to train the plant by pruning. So pruning simply means the removal of unwanted parts of a plant to enable healthy growth. That is how it is. So this unwanted part, the lower leaves which are there, they may be diseased and they will still be hanging on the plants, competing with the flowering, and then also competing with the fruit, competing with the branches which will be flowering over space, nutrients, water, and other climatic conditions. Therefore, it is necessary for you to remove the such kind of leaves. And then also there are certain leaves which are just on the plant without performing any serious function or without giving anything beneficial to the plant. So it is necessary to remove all those um, branches and the leaves to enable the plant grow healthy and then be able to flower and yield higher for optimum yield. So it doesn't matter the quantity or the amount of plant that you plant, but it's all about how you manage your plant well. You may have a simple or a small plot of land, but if you manage them well, you see that you will get higher yield than planting a lot of them without performing any cultural practice like pruning. So therefore, now let's move on to the field for practical explanation. Now, this is our small portion that we want to use as practical work for you to know how to plant your tomato by pruning. If you look at our spacing, this is just a room space, and we had to make good use of it by getting higher yield, at least for our own consumption. Therefore, what I did on the board is what I'm coming to demonstrate. Now, these are our tomato plants. You can see the spaces are quite wider, about 1 meter by 1 meter. That is the spacing. If you stand here, is about 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. So the spaces, they are being spaced out because we are not doing trellising. Therefore, you have to give it space for healthy growth. If you look at this particular plant, for example, this is a tomato plant. Get closer. This is a tomato plant. You can see this as if it is diseased. Flowering is being limited. It is growing. It has reached a stage of which is supposed to flower and then produce fruits. But you can see that its growth had been halted, and if you look at the number of flowers on it, it is not encouraging. So to boost the number of flowers and also to increase yield, first of all, you have to perform your pruning. So now, if you look at these leaves, they are no more needed. Get closer. They are no more needed. These leaves are just here. They are competing with these branches over space, water, and nutrients. The nutrient from the soil, which will be picked by the root of the tomato plants. Surely, when it gets into the stem, as it is moving upwards to enhance flowering, once it gets here, all these things will pick some of the nutrients and then the water, thereby competing with this. So it is necessary for us to remove them and then look at the results. All these branches are not necessary. So this is how pruning is being performed. We do it in such a way that we do not injure the plant. If you continue to injure the plant, it will also if you just shake it anyhow, it is a little bit technical. This is how it is done. You do it this way and then you remove it. You do it that way, you remove it. You do it this way. All these things are unwanted branches, and unwanted leaves. They seem diseased, so it is coming up here. So we are removing them all for optimum yield. Very soon we shall come. You can see here the flowering is not necessary. The flower, no, there cannot be any flowering here on this particular branch. So it is necessary that we remove them so that they can pave way for the ones which are producing the branches for so now we have a healthy tomato here. Now we have to mulch it because of the sun. The intensity of the sunlight is a little bit high, therefore evaporation is high. So we have done our mulching too. Now we are using this particular plant as a control. So we'll leave it here for a period of 1 week. We will come back and observe this plant whether there had been fruit on it. Let's move on to another plant. After pruning, you don't have to leave the leaves here because most of the leaves are diseased. After removing all, you see that all these leaves are healthy. So we are to throw it away outside the farm environment. to avoid the spread of diseases. Example, the mosaic viral diseases, and then also tomato leaf care disease. Mostly these are the two major diseases that affect tomato. And then also we have Bamisa tobacci, that is white flies, which may also affect tomatoes. But these tomatoes are being produced organically. You don't want to add any synthetic chemical to them. Through good cultural practices, they will grow healthy for healthy consumption. So let's move on to another plant here. So now I'm throwing these leaves away. Now we have another plant here. Now we are pruning. Let me do it closer. Then we can try. You see that this one is also there. You see that this one is also, there's a problem with this. You have the low leaves, also looking a little bit yellowish, a real symptom of yellowing, meaning this one is diseased. But trust me, with good agronomic practice, we are going to solve the problem of this particular tomato. So we'll do our pruning. Our today's task is to look at the necessity of pruning, whether pruning is necessary or not. So we have removed the branches who may not be needed, which may not be needed by the plants. We are removing all to enhance healthy growth of the plant. After pruning, we are going to leave this particular plant for a period of 1 week, and you will see that there is marvelous difference. So we are good to go. So this plant now, its problem has also been solved. We have done mulching, we do watering every day, and we will observe this plant in a week time to look at the performance. This shows that without even the use of chemicals, with proper agronomic practice, you can produce your own vegetables, example tomato, without any hassle by employing good agronomic practices. They also help to solve disease and pest infestations in tomato production. Once pruning is done, certain diseases are viral and they spread anyhow. But with pruning, you have been able to remove all the leaves. Now, the necessary nutrients and then the water. There's no competition here. So whichever nutrients or water that will be conducted from the soil through the root to the stem, it will not affect flowering. They have reached the flowering stage. Let's leave it. We will prune everything, but for the purpose of time, we may helpful. Now, let's look at this particular plant. It look quite diseased. We are going to prune it, and then for the time of 1 to 2 weeks, when we come, you see that the problem of this particular plant is being solved. So this one is also pruned. Therefore, we leave these plants and take the unpruned one as control. We shall come and look at the performance, whether the pruned one, to compare the pruned tomato to the unpruned one, and we see the yield. Science is real. That is why smart agro innovation, we try as much as possible to let you understand what goes wrong. If even you are not a farmer, at your backyard you can also produce your own vegetable without depending necessarily on others, of which you may not know the source. Thank you very much, and subscribe to our channel. This is Smart Agro Innovations. Any questions can be put in the comment box for every attention and then solution. Thank you very much.